Welcome everybody to the final day of the Magnus Carlsen Invitational, and please do disregard the fact that I've worn a purple hoodie for the last two recaps, and hopefully not more than that. Today, Magnus Carlsen has a 1-0 lead over Wesley So for the third place match, and Anish, Giri, and Jan are all square. I've got nothing else to say, let's just jump into the games. It was a very exciting day of chess. We're going to kick things off with Wesley So with the white pieces and Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces. We have d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop to b4. This is a defense with the black pieces known as the Nimzo-Indian defense. It's one of the most popular ways to play the position. You pin the knight to the king and you disallow white from playing e4. There are a lot of moves here, but white plays the move f3 with the intention of playing king f2, king g3, king h4, and camping out on that side of the board. In reality, I am pretending to be a moron. Actually, I'm not pretending, I am one, and this is just preparing the move e4. Now here, Magnus plays a very provocative move, knight c6, and you would say, well, Levy, how's this provocative at all? Just putting a knight in the middle of the board. Well, really what black wants is to put pawns in the center. Generally, pawns in the center will defeat other pieces in the center, because those pieces will have nowhere to go. So Magnus plays knight c3, and after this trade, Wesley just gets this big boy center. This is a healthy big boy center, but Magnus plays in a very provocative way. He wants to target the doubled pawns, right, the damage to the structure. He wants to play knight a5, very common idea for the Nimzo-Indian, maybe knight to h5 and queen to h4. And Wesley says, well, I'm just going to play bishop g5, pinning you, bring my bishop back, and then play queen c8. Queen c8 gets out of the way of the pin, and if you take me, well, you've just traded off one of your powerful pieces. So here Wesley plays bishop d3, queen e2 to guard the c-pawn, Magnus plays d6, and Wesley So says, I've had just about enough of your nonsense, I'm going to go f4. Look at this. I mean, my man pulled up. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's a Tetris piece. You add one more to that. It's like a... I probably shouldn't say it's a firearm because I could get in trouble. That's a crowbar. He's got a crowbar and he's going to whack Magnus with it. But Magnus isn't scared of any crowbars. Queen d7, knight f3, and Magnus says, hey, that's a nice pawn you got there, Wesley. Knight h5. This is move 13, and the world champion hasn't developed any pawn past the third rank. His knights are on a5 and h5, his queen's in the middle, it's moved multiple times, and he hasn't castled. And yet, he's arguably the greatest chess player in human history. I don't know about alien history, but I know about human history. You say, why is that such a good move? Well, check this out. Wesley goes g3, Magnus Carlsen plays What? Here's the problem. Takes, and if you take with the bishop, bam, 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 bam. I fork you, and you can't take because you would lose both rooks. So that means Wesley has to take with the knight, and now Magnus shuffles into f4, sacrifices his knight and takes. And for the very brief moment, Magnus is down a pawn. He's down a pawn, and his rook has been kicked out. But here's the problem. This is hanging. The queen's just got direct access. I mean, the queen's just got literally just VIP access to just destroy everything on the queen side. Also just kind of hit myself in the face because I was so excited. So f5, castles, and Wesley goes all the way in. Magnus says, hello. How do you can't guard this because it's so, now you got to trade queens and come back. And now Magnus says, it's over. Rook h3, king f2, rook f8. Bishop e2, bishop takes c4, rook f1, rook f4, four forward moves, 5 forward moves, 6 forward moves, 7 forward moves. That's kind of a forward move. He took a pawn. I mean, it counts. 8 forward moves, 9, I don't know. And then finally we back up, but it doesn't really matter because he just swarms him and knight is threatened, mate is threatened, and Magnus Carlsen wins the first rapid game of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is looking very bleak because to force a blitz playoff, Wesley So now needs to score 2.5 out of his next 3 games. But shocking is in the title of this video. I did not clickbait you. Nope, just kidding. They drew their next 2 games and Magnus Carlsen moves on. Well, he doesn't move on, he just wins 3rd place. Magnus Carlsen makes quick work of this match. And I did just lie to you, I'm sorry. Magnus wins 3 games against Wesley. They draw the other 4, I think. I mean, just what to say? Magnus Carlsen back in form. I saw a comment in yesterday's video that was like, Magnus Carlsen reminding everybody he's the world champ. I mean, he doesn't gotta remind me he's the world champ. And Magnus in any game is gonna be the head-to-head favorite. So good to see him in creative and provocative form, creating chaos on the board. But ladies and gentlemen, let's move to our main event of the evening. Hailing from the Netherlands, Anish Giri and Jan Nepomniachtchi from Russia. Jan Nepomniachtchi currently tied for first in the candidates tournament, which will resume in April. Anish Giri, family man, handsome man, super grandmaster for so long, top rival, Twitter savant, social media mogul, and, course maker. The first game of their rapid was drawn, so it's 0.5, 0.5. They have several rapid games to go and potentially a blitz. We get e4, c5, and we have the Taimanov Sicilian. We've seen this already many times from Nepo. Now here, Giri plays a move which can really only be described as picante, which for my non-Spanish speaking audience means spicy. G4, up. Wow. No, that move is not spicy. Take two. This move can be described as picante. G4. You say, why would... What? I know. Remember, grandmasters are the kids at the playground who are not playing with the other kids. They're eating sand over off in the corner. Here's the idea. You are stopping black from playing knight f6, and you want to play bishop g2. After the move h6, this position has been reached tens of thousands of times. This position has been reached never. I'm not joking. According to my database, maybe they have a better one. I've never seen this position ever in my database. And then Nepo plays knight f6 anyway. And the position they get, super weird. Queen f3, d5, g5 attacking the knight. Now we swap rooks. Nepo plays knight g4 attacking the bishop. Bishop doesn't want to get taken, so it goes back. Bishop b7, queen h3. Now where are you moving your knight? Okay, back to e5. Okay, first we have long castle. d4. Now the knight drops back to b1 and c5. So Nepo lodges the center shut and activates the bishop. What's worth more than a pawn? A knight. A knight's worth more than a pawn. And you! Y'all were waiting. I know you were waiting. You're also worth more than a pawn. Of course. So, now Nepo's got a decision. Does he go here or does he go here? Nepo chooses knight c6. Nepo chooses wrong. Knight g6 is a better move. Why? Because if you come and attack me, I just go right back to the middle. And yes, there's this pin, and yes, it's annoying, but here there's the amazing move, knight d3. Losing the knight in 4 different ways, but it comes with check. So you can't take the bishop, and then when I take, you go here, and black is more or less okay. But Nepo goes the other way, and now here's a nice move. This is known as undermining. We get g6, exclamation point. If you take, I take your pawn with my queen, and it's check, and that's bad. So you go there, now I take... You take, but I have this. How are you going to guard this pawn? Oh, like that? That doesn't guard the pawn. And he doesn't guard the pawn because if he just tries to guard like this, I keep marching. You try to defend, I keep going. I'm going to take. You're paralyzed here. You're never going to survive this. I'm sniping you from 3 directions, okay? So we get king b8, and now we begin for Giri the consolidation process. He plays knight a3, then he moves his rook over to e1. Moves his king over to b1. You say, what is he doing? He's consolidating. He's improving his position without taking any risk. And he plays e5, a nice little wedge. Wedges the pawns in. So now that the queen and the bishop for black aren't so active. We get bishop back to d8. Brings the bishop back to b3. It's funny because Anish looks like he's literally doing nothing, and yet he's doing so much. All right? Knight c4. Pawn takes, and now bishop f4. Simplifying. And... we get bishop back to d2, just brings the bishop out of danger. Queen g7, and now the most forcing move that white has that makes any sense. Checks, captures, attacks. He's got no checks. He's got no captures. When you think of attacks, you got to think of what's worth the most in black's position. Queen, rook, right? So he goes here, and everything falls apart. Everything. Everything. So we get queen e6 infiltrating. Then he has to consolidate because Nepo's creating a little bit of counterplay. Queen goes back to c4. We have el tenedor, although that's obviously not how you say it, but I just like saying tenedor. Queen h2. Queen takes c5 check. He takes another pawn. Why is he not taking the rook, you ask? Great question. Queen takes d4, rook f8, bishop f4, bishop g3, takes. And in this position, Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned because the rook is hanging. It cannot take the knight because it's guarded. And if you don't take the knight, like you go here, then I go here. And I threaten this, and you can't take because I'm guarded. And Jan resigns, and Giri wins. They drew their next game. Anish Giri has a 2-1 lead. And that takes us to our final rapid game. Or maybe final game of the video. I don't know. Don't look ahead. Don't go look how long the video is. Don't try to predict. You don't know. You don't know nothing. Gotham, you're spoiling. Did Nepo win? Did he force a tiebreak? I don't know. You about to find out. E4, C5. This time Nepo goes knight C6. Anish, rather than entering the open Sicilian, goes for bishop B5. The Rossalimo. E6, takes. D3, knight E7. At this point, about 90% of modern day games go queen e2 or h4, h5. Like white basically castles, anticipates the knight coming here, and plays h4, h5 to try to meet it. Yeah, it plays this move. Which doesn't look weird on its own, but they get a similar position, and at this point there's no games. Whereas back here, there are thousands of games in the database. And I have an open question. What do y'all think happened? Do you think... I always try to say these guys did not forget their prep. I actually think that Anish has very good preparation in this line and maybe wants to save it for a future tournament that's mildly more important than this one, like the Candidates Tournament, to determine who plays the next world champion. The world champion match. Knight g6, h4, h5, and e5. And we get this structure. So Jan leaves this pawn for a moment, activates his bishop, and then ultimately finally takes the pawn back and plays bishop c7. So what the hell is going on? We have opposite side castling. Material is completely equal. Pawn structure obviously better for white, given that black has all of this, but black counterbalances that with having open lines, very imbalanced position. And if you have to play this for a win, because if you don't, you go home or stay home and get eliminated, king b1. It's a very complex position. So Jan plays rook b8. And a big decision here by Jan. He trades the bishop and the knight. Now, during the broadcast, Hikaru and I didn't like this very much. We were like, why would he completely freeze his pawn play? Well, Jan understood something. He understood that he will slowly improve his position. Look at what he's doing. His king's not drunk and going for a walk. His king's preparing for the endgame. In the future, he's got this break g5. And if the queens got traded too quickly, there would be no threat from black to white. But as the game progresses, right, Anish goes here. Now Jan plays queen f7, bishop e6, bishop d5, rerouting the bishop. Put some pressure on this pawn, and big decision, do you go here? By pushing that pawn, you give yourself two dark squared weaknesses. And Anish thought for a while, played rook g1, traded and played f3, and Jan played this move f5. And the move f5 suddenly activated this. This move f5 activated the backwards diagonal for the bishop. And that proved to be he isolates Anish's weakness, defends himself, and takes the pawn. And now a move like rook h3 to fork, kind of looking like you're trapping him here, doesn't work because check. So you can't have that. Knight e5. And he just consolidates. And Anish's knights don't have any coordination. He attacks the queen. You know what's worth more than a queen? A knight. Wait, what? Gotham, what is this riddle? I just said, oh my god. You can't stop me from trapping your queen. Your king and queen are stuck on the back rank, and even if you move, your queen's trapped. Look at that nastiness. Look at that nastiness. Rook takes e5, takes, Anish Giri resigns. Holy crap. What just happened? Jan Nepomniachtchi wins on demand. Not with white, but with black. Hold up. Now we have blitz. Ladies and gentlemen, we have blitz. The rapid portion of their match is tied 1-1. I mean, this is crazy. Let's go to blitz. Let's nullify these scores. Here we go. Here's the blitz format. 5 minutes, 3-second bonus time. They play 2 games, and Anish gets to choose what he starts with. Does he start with white or black? And he chooses to start with white, which is kind of rare, because normally you want to start with black. You want to hold with black, see what happens, and see how much risk you have to take with white. But Anish gets to choose because he's the higher seed. He goes back into his Sicilian defense. But now we get this from e6. And here, you know, Anish did see my recent video on the wing gambit, but he figured that so has Jan, so he doesn't want to play that. He wants to surprise him with a transposition to an Alpine Sicilian, and then a transposition to a French defense. So now they're in an advanced French variation. Knight a3, takes, knight c2, and f6 is what Jan plays, right? He's trying to go after this pawn on e5. So we get takes, not queen takes, but pawn takes, bishop d6, h5 by Jan, and now knight back to e7 and h4 and king f7. So Jan has this little kind of barrack here with all his knights and his bishops and his king stuck behind everybody. And at this point, the engine here for white is showing something absolutely disgusting. It's a move I'm going to share with y'all. Shows you how ridiculous computers are. The computer just wants this. Takes, and takes with the bishop. Just give away the knight for the pawn. No obvious reason why it's so good. And here's why it's so good. Because you're going to go knight f6. Like, for example, a6. You're going to go knight f6. If black doesn't defend queen f3 check, you will also go queen f3 check. If knight to f5, of course, they just lose the queen. So for that reason, you have to move the queen out of the way, so that queen f3 can be met with knight f5. But after queen f8, white will play knight f6, attacking the bishop. And when the bishop moves out of the way, you play queen g4. A move that seemingly creates no threat. But it occupies f5 with the bishop. You're going to go rook e1 and just take. And there's nothing black can do about this. Like, black has to play something ridiculous like e5, just allowing you to take and play f4 and rip it all open. Knight g5 is a ridiculous computer move I just wanted to share with y'all. Anish Giri plays a different sacrifice to e5. The problem with doing it this way is the fact that the e file is blocked and knight f6 comes too slowly. So now black plays hg3, and here has to go knight f5 to anticipate queen coming to f3, or has to go rook h5, anticipating, you know, something coming to f3, and then your bishop is hit, and hiding the king over here. Jan thinks for a while, plays bishop c6, tries to avoid knight f6 coming with an attack. Anish plays rook c1, a horrible blunder. Why? Because what's worth more than a bishop? The king. Now you see the point of putting this here. So now Anish has to go here and trade. He's down material. He doesn't want trades. And he's removed one of his most powerful attacking pieces. Now we get knight f5 and rook c8. There is a lingering threat in the position for white to go here, but it's not so scary because black will just go back to e7. So Anish plays the move bishop f6, attacking the rook. Jan thinks for a long time, actually, getting down to about 30 seconds on the clock here, and plays the move rook h7. And this seemingly innocuous rook move is a devastating blunder. Jan goes from completely winning in this position after the move rook to g8 to completely lost after rook h7. Why? Because the rook loses a guard when it goes off the back rank. Now on queen d7 check, you cannot play bishop e7, because now you would lose the rook. One move, one square, made all the difference, and from completely winning to completely losing. Knight e7, takes, here, the game is over. If you take with the knight, rook f4, x straight to the queen, you can't block because of this. So you play queen e7, Anish Giri cleans up, pins the rook to the king, the game is over. And Anish Giri, against all odds, comes back after losing that game and being lost in this game, wins the first blitz game. Anish Giri has a 1-0 lead. Now, Jan Nepomniachtchi. Here we go. Can he make a comeback? b3, plays with white. d5, bishop b2. Reverse London from Anish. d3, c5, knight d2, and g3, bishop g2, e5, e4. Okay, very confrontational approach. Takes, bishop e6, knight f3, and queen c7. Castles bishop e7. Jan plays the move knight c4. Instigating. He's like, yo, Anish, damage my structure. My plan is that I'm going to rotate my knight to get to the d5 square, and I'm going to have an open b file. Anish says, no thank you. Rook d8. And here, of course you think, well, Jan should play queen e2 to just guard his knight. I'm guessing he didn't because he didn't like how knight d4 looked. And after knight d4, you know, if you take with the knight, this doesn't look very good because black just bulldozes you on this side. But apparently you can take with the bishop. And after cd4, this is hanging. So black would have to play e takes d4 to get this knight out of danger. And you can go for some knight g5 stuff. But Jan played a move here which was so shocking, we didn't quite understand it. I mean, we got it. Queen b1. The idea being that, again, you're not happy with this, but at least you have some b file to operate on. But after castles rook e1, knight d7, the idea is to just go to the queen side. Just bring the knights to the queen side and hit c4. And bishop f1 is a big mistake. You say, why is that a big mistake? I don't understand. Well, white's dream is to put the knight on d5, right? To put the knight on d5. The knight will have to go d2, f1, e3, d5. By going here, you cut that move. And knight d4, knight d2 runs into the move bishop g5. And the other problem is that if this knight disappears, knight f3 hits everybody. So Jan is lost. Jan can play rook d1, takes, but then knight f3. So Jan takes, but after this transformation, black is winning. This is a positionally winning situation for black. Doubled pawns. Black's got what's called a dark squared complex. Got all these pieces on dark squares, and this light squared bishop's not going to be able to do anything. And the rest of the game is Anish just basically improving his position. First of all, somewhere Eric Rosen just squealed in delight because Anish also got connect 4, and Anish just slowly converts the game. Nepo tries to create a little bit of counterplay, but it's not enough as the game simplifies into a rook endgame, and Anish Giri on move 44 in a flashy way, sacrificing his rook for a promotion. Nepo resigns, and with that, Anish Giri wins the Blitz playoff and is the champion of the Magnus Carlsen Invitational. Now, this was a major tournament, not like, big tournament. I'm saying it was a major, according to the Magnus Carlsen and the Champions Chess Tour the Champions Chess Tour. So now Anish Giri is one of the 2 auto qualifiers for the finals, which will take place, I believe, in San Francisco later this year. That's what we all hope once we're all past this pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it has been an honor. A lot of fun calling all of these games for you. Thank you so much once again for the support. Do leave a comment if you've been watching all these recaps thus far. And yeah, the next big event coming up is obviously the Candidates. So for now, we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming of Gotham content. Till then, signing off.